Welcome to EA Basketball Daily. This is everything you missed from last night's NBA action. I'm Michael. This is Kyle. Let's dive right into it. Nuggets, Blazers. Hell of a game. Game of the Year candidate. 2 Game of the Year candidates back-to-back nights. Very, very exciting. The Nuggets get the win, 121-120. Damian Lillard goes crazy. 40 points, 12 assists, 9 3-pointers made, and still the Nuggets are able to get this win. I have some highlights here that I'll pull up. What were your thoughts on this one?
You know, I didn't even spend too much time looking at the box score because I caught the second half of this game, and what we've been griping about since we started this for the Nuggets is just not seeing from Jamal Murray what we've expected to see. Stats-wise, I think he finished with only 21 points, but he got it done end of game, which is what we were talking about last time, you know, what he was doing in the bubble. It was a really interesting end of game kind of sequence to watch because they hand the ball to Dame for what we think is going to probably be the last possession. And I just kind of had this feel. I don't want to sound like LeBron here, but I had this feeling of like, man, we haven't seen Dame time in a while.
Yeah.
We're in Portland. It sure feels like we might here.
Yes.
And then he drains it. And I was like, wow, this is probably the first time, you know, I'm not like all in on the Nuggets yet, but I'm living here now. First time living somewhere with an NBA team. I'm kind of rooting for him.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've been a victim of Dame time. I feel like he's always done it to like the Thunder or the Clippers. Yeah. And I was like, damn, I don't like being on this side of Dame time. That's kind of hurtful. And then they cut to the last play here for the Nuggets. And before they inbound the ball, Jamal Murray and Jeremy Grant are kind of, I think, kind of talking shit back and forth because they're smiling, kind of laughing a little bit. And then Jamal Murray just turns it on. Hardly anything you can do with that step back move. I thought Jeremy Grant played okay defense. But yeah, that's something we haven't seen from Murray since the bubble. So that's encouraging.
And I do want to play this. This has kind of gone mini viral. The call on this one as he hits the three.
Murray handles, crossing over, steps back, a triple for the win.
A triple for the win. Got it. Not much you can say. I mean, yeah, you kind of hit it on the head there, Kyle. So this is what we want from Jamal Murray, obviously, right? We want him to get back to form. We want him to get back to that bubble form. But honestly, if Jokic is doing what he's doing, which last night, somehow lost the box score again.
Yeah, 33, 10, and 9.
Yeah, well, again, one stat away from another triple-double, which has happened 6 times this year. He would be leading the league in triple-doubles if he'd had each one of those. Even half of those, he'd be tied with Luka. But Jokic carries throughout. He made Nurkic look like he kind of... Nurkic and Jokic is always an interesting matchup. Remember, the Nuggets ended up trading Nurkic years ago and sticking with Jokic, which of course was the right call. But he was just kind of puppeteering him out there. He has that 3-second call. He calls from 3 seconds to get out of the paint. He like points at him that he's going to get a 3-second call. Jokic backs up out of the paint, and Jokic immediately goes to work and gets a layup, a double spin move against a smaller opponent. But this is what you want from Jamal Murray. Nikola Jokic carries throughout the course of the game, and then Jamal Murray's there, a perimeter player with a lethal outside shot when he's on, and hits the 3 to counter Dame's Dame time shots that he was hitting. This game was insane. 15 lead changes in the fourth quarter. No team led by more than 3 in the fourth quarter. Once the Nuggets there made their run back to it. Incredible game from Dame, obviously. 40 points, as I mentioned. 12 assists, 9 3-pointers, 54% from the field. This has been a consistent characteristic of Trailblazers teams over Damian Lillard's career, though. He goes crazy, and the supporting cast isn't able to consistently back him up. The one year I think you can say that it happened was the year that they made the conference finals run that CJ was probably had his career best. Anthony Simons, we were talking about him last week. It was only last week he goes for 45. Woof, man. 3 of 12, 0 of 6 from 3. I mean, obviously simple math would say if he only hits one of those 3-pointers, they win the game. But I mean, even if it's not just one of those 3-pointers, just not having the 4 turnovers and no 3-pointers made for him. And then Jeremy Grant, 18 points, did his best. But man, Dame just needs help, because when he goes off like this, it's kind of this interesting dichotomy of yeah, exactly. Cactus makes a good point there. Dame's first game back, we go, oh, he's rusty. They could use him in moments like this whenever Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons are going off. Well, then he's there, and they're all just standing around looking at him. And last night it worked, but they weren't there to back him up.
Yeah, I mean, a good showcase of 2 of the best closers in the league. I don't want to kind of dunk on the Blazers too hard, because they put up 120 points.
Of course.
Anthony Simons has a bad night, but you get combined 40 some odd points from Hart, Grant, and Nurkic. So overall, a good performance from the Blazers. This is obviously what they've been missing. Same thing with the Nuggets. Like you said, Jokic can drag them through the game, but the game gets tight at the end, gets a little different.
Yeah.
Jokic was bullying Nurkic all game, and then Nurkic stuffed him on the, I think, second to last possession for the Nuggets. So the game gets different, gets a little bit more crowded, a little tougher for Jokic to operate the way he does, and that's where you need Murray to step up, and we finally got to see that from him last night. So,
yeah. Overall, standings-wise, the Nuggets dropped down to the 4 seed. Don't drop to the 4 seed. They are in the 4 seed. The Blazers are still kind of firmly planted. This doesn't have a whole lot of ramifications for either team, but the Nuggets stopped the bleeding, which they're now 6-4 in their last 10. They won their first game out of their last 5. I think they'd lost 4 straight. So that is definitely a game that the Nuggets needed. Anything else on this one?
They finally Michael Malone finally played Christian Brown 20 minutes. Local Nuggets reporters here have kind of been clamoring for more Christian Brown minutes. Seems like the only bench player who knows how to play defense right now. So got to see a little bit of that. Interested in following that moving forward.
So time to move on to one of the most exciting games of the year, the Toilet Bowl 2022. Spurs Rockets. Spurs over Rockets 118-109. I'd love to tell you that there's a whole lot to break down in this one, but in reality, there really isn't. There's one play in particular we have to talk about, though. Let me get this pulled up here. And it is the offensive foul, quote unquote, of Alperen Şengün here. And you tell me what you think about this one. Because, man, I don't know if that's an offensive foul. I don't know. I don't know.
There's been a murder, but I don't know if there's been an offensive foul.
Year after year, we get one dunk that doesn't count that should have, and this was the one, at least this year. From a different angle, Şengün goes up and makes contact first, and then his offhand kind of leads, but that's so common these days. I don't feel like that should have been called an offensive foul. I don't know.
That's Zach Collins, yeah.
Yes, Zach Collins was a good man. Rest in peace. He's no longer with us.
You don't see the charge midair too often.
Yeah.
He didn't in his ground. He was jumping sort of sideways. So I'm a little puzzled by that one. But Şengün was robbed. That seems like a amazing dunk to me. Yeah,
and it was I think it was 3 years ago to the day, yesterday was, that the Anthony or maybe a couple days ago, Anthony Edwards on Yuta Watanabe, the one that got called back that shouldn't questionably at least. One other thing of note in this one was Keldon Johnson, 32 points, 7 rebounds, 14 to 21, 66% from the field. StatMuse actually had a pretty good a stat about Keldon Johnson's game last night. He becomes the third player in Spurs history to have 5 30-point games before turning 24. Of course, with Tim Duncan and Tony Parker. So he's making a little bit of noise down there in San Antonio. Maybe if they get who they're aiming for, they've got some pieces around there that could make some noise maybe in the coming seasons. So, anything else of this one? Kind of a kind of a snoozer here.
Well, yeah, it's probably what we expected from two teams. No, not too interested in winning. Keldon Johnson's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. He was great last season too, but DeJounte Murray was putting up a great year, and the Spurs still weren't really competitive, so it just wasn't really something that was paid attention to too much. So I think Keldon Johnson's a really solid piece for him. I assume now that they've traded off Murray that he's kind of the guy moving forward. The Rockets did their best. They went 12 deep last night, emptied the bench, played absolutely everybody. Jabari Smith, 23 points, 4 of 7 from 3. That's sort of been the interesting development I've seen from the Rockets. He was not shooting threes to start the season. Kind of seemed like a weird number 3 draft pick, but it's starting to make more sense seeing him go over 50% from 3. That might be a problem moving forward for other teams. So he's looking better for sure.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, and at this point, they're just going for development and, getting who. So, all right. I guess I should check the standings on that highly important. Because the Spurs won, they jump up to the 14th spot. So, Rockets are down there in last place, looking to pair who with all those young guns. So, All right, we'll move on to a confusing one. Heat versus Clippers, 115-110. Heat win. Jimmy Butler plays. Paul George plays. Kawhi does not. Bam has his second best game of the season, 31-10. He had a 38-point game against the Wizards a few weeks ago, but he was a +1 in that game. He finishes a +10 in this one. I mentioned this to you before we started that I don't know what to make of the Heat. I don't even know what the question is to ask of the Heat anymore. What is the Heat? When is the Heat? Where is the Heat? I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I looked up 10 different stats I wish I could give you that would help make up your mind on the Heat. 10 of their 14 losses are less than 10 points. 6 of their wins are less than 10 points. They're 8-11 against 500 teams. Everything is so up and down. In terms of this game, though, at least, this was close, as most Heat games are, and most Clippers games have been recently. So, this kind of followed suit there. Jimmy Butler has 8 points in the last 5 minutes, goes 3 for 3, doesn't miss in the last 3 quarters, has his only 2 misses come in the first quarter, doesn't miss in the last 3 quarters, and then clutch time comes and he shows up. Paul George had 6 points in the last 5 minutes as well. But like I kind of said, Bam really did some special things in this game. So, did you have anything on the Clippers or the Heat here?
Well, one thing that stood out to me immediately was watching these City Edition jerseys with the court is just truly an abomination.
Yeah.
I think if you go back, as soon as they got rid of the Miami Vice jerseys is when they started to be extremely confusing. So I would point to that as a source of their frustration. But just watching the team, kind of like what we said last time about the Heat, they just ran out a lot of lineups that when Jimmy Butler's not in the game, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like they were playing second half minutes of, I believe it was Max Strus, Victor Oladipo, Tyler Hero, Caleb Martin, and Bam.
Yeah.
So they're playing Caleb Martin at the 4 a lot. And he's doing all right. He had 17 points last night, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. He filled it up. I mean, I don't think you could ask for anything more from him. But just on the court, I do wonder if that's why it's hard to kind of pin down. It's not against bad teams that they're just, closing them out every time. It's hard to track down what this team is good at and what their deficiencies are. But I think it just comes down to matchups of the Clippers obviously have a lot of wings, but without Kawhi, Zubac is their only kind of punishing interior force. And I think Bam handled that okay. Yeah. And the Clippers just don't have any other oversized wings that can really get inside and punish a smaller Heat team. So I think that's why the Heat could kind of get away with this one, where they don't against maybe some teams that are not as good as the Clippers, but have more size inside that gives them trouble, especially when Jimmy's not on the court.
Yeah, you mentioned Caleb Martin. He actually had a really good second quarter, 16 points, 4 of 4 from 3, 6 of 8 field goal in that second quarter. So, I mean, it's not like he's playing useless minutes. He's just he's not who you want at the 4. But like you said, the Clippers don't really have a whole lot of size to contest with, so that's why they were able to get away with it. I continue, like I mentioned, I continue to be confused by the Heat. I was talking to a buddy of mine who's a Heat fan, or a casual Heat fan, I guess you could say. He's like, every time I see him, he knows about the show and all that. He goes, well, what's up with the Heat? And I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you about the Heat. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's time to blow it up, if they're going to, I mean, because they're in the 10 spot now after that win last night. They're a half game back of the 9. But they're also a half game above the Wizards. Like, they're just very delicately sitting in that 10 spot, hanging in the play-in spot. You know, Kyle Lowry's out. Hero is like, he's back and forth. He performs one night, then he doesn't. You know, last night, let me see. Last night,
he played good. He played all right.
19 points, 6 of 17 shooting. You know, 35% from a guy that they just paid $100+ million to is kind of oof. But you know, if Jimmy and Bam can kind of get on the same page here, I could see some potential from the Heat. But it's just got to be more consistent, and it seems like they play down to their competition, and then up to their competition. And you know, I think that they're kind of they're just kind of floating in and out here. So I think we got a special guest here. The Wizards will overtake them this week, says Justin. Hello, Justin. Thanks for being here. I mean, probably the way the Heat have been playing, nobody knows what to make of the Heat. So anything about them or anything?
I mean, Duncan Robinson totally out of the rotation now. That's the big salary cap deficiency with the money they're paying him to do nothing. They're not even sending him out there. So that's rough. And then, last night watching who they were putting at the 4, it kind of dawned on me. I'm like, where is Omer Yurtseven? I'm mid-game Googling like Omer Yurtseven hurt ? And he is. That is why he's not playing. But you're not in a good position if I'm double checking why you don't have Omer Yurtseven, because he would help you so much. So I'm going to point to that continuously as what the Heat need until they can get somebody else in there to play some minutes at the power forward.
Yeah. So we'll see about the Heat again. Just confusion all around. These ransom letter ass jerseys. I don't know what the hell to make. It's crazy. I mean, the inconsistency of the numbers is the biggest thing. Like, how are announcers and refs getting it right? I guess because they're closer to the action. But I'm watching a game like, is that a 0? Is that a 6? I can't tell because the next letter is bright pink. You know.
Yeah, it's a lightning bolt. I don't really know what the.
I don't know what to make of the Heat, man. I'm overall confused. The Miami confusion. All right, let's look ahead to the weekend. We will be back on Monday, of course. So let's take a look at these games that we've got for tonight. Some good matchups tonight. Let's see here if I can get this one pulled up. There we go. There we go. A few snoozers. Knicks, Hornets, whatever. Wizards, Pacers, whatever.
5th loss in a row, yeah.
Yeah, I would think the Pacers can pull that out unless Miles Turner can't contain Kristaps, which is definitely a possibility. Raptors, Magic. We know what the Raptors are. We know what the Magic are aiming for there. The Hawks, Nets. The now 4th place Nets out of nowhere, kind of due to the rest of the Eastern Conference's inability to perform. The Nets are in the 4 spot. Hawks looking to rebound from that horrendous Knicks loss. Who do you think wins that Nets Hawks game?
I guess I got to give this one to the Nets. Hawks are banged up, missing some guys for sure. Hunter, Collins, and now Murray's going to be out.
Yes,
so,
2 to 4 weeks.
Oof. Yeah. Don't want to hammer this too much, but the vibes are bad in Atlanta.
Yes, they are.
But moving ahead, Kings, Cavs. It's a little kind of blog boy bowl, kind of a fan favorite. So I'm excited to see that. Obviously, Lakers, Sixers, primetime on ESPN without Anthony Davis. We'll see. But that game looked a lot better a few days ago. But then Suns, Pels.
Yes, we got two big matchups tonight. Suns, Pels. I think the Pelicans can win this game. A stat that I saw is they have the longest win streak in the league. They're the best in the West, obviously, right now, at least record-wise. And their big 3 has only played 10 games together. So, we've mentioned, well, what if they get Brandon Ingram and they just get better? Who knows? It could happen. But also, I could see the Suns bouncing back in a big way. I don't really think that they have. I take it back. They have Herb Jones, who could do some things to Devin Booker potentially. Is he playing or is he not?
Who? Herb?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Ingram is unlikely. He's been battling the toe injury for a while. So yeah, like you said, I don't know if the Suns are gonna come out and get punked 3 games in a row, but I saw it happen to him 4 games in a row a couple years ago in the playoffs.
Yeah,
so
it did.
It might happen. And then looking ahead,
yeah,
Bucks Mavs. I mean, I don't want to skip over Wolves Jazz. I think that it could be a dud. It could be not a close game that we don't have too much to talk about, but it could very easily. God, I'd love to see Gobert sweep the leg again on somebody. Like, let's just see how mad Rudy Gobert can get.
Well, he's been on the I Love Utah tour this last couple of days, making a big statement about it. Staying after the Wolves game the other night to watch the Warriors Jazz game, and then he never sold his house, and he I mean, that's fine, probably a multi-million-dollar property. He never sold his house, and he's immediately back there and like has his whole team over there and makes a big thing about it. A little odd to me, I guess. Still with the Utah Jazz court, by the way, in his house. You might have think
isn't this like the joke about how men grieve after a breakup? They're like totally cool with it for a few months, and then the grass starts looking greener.
Yeah. And then like you mentioned, Bucks Mavs. So I think the Bucks win this game. I want to be clear. I'm picking the Bucks, and I'm picking the fact that the Bucks are only favored by 1, I think, is an insult to how good the Bucks are right now. But what we're looking at is Giannis and Luka, and I think that's probably why the Bucks are only favored by a point. I mean, you're the Bucks guy. Break it down for us.
I'm gonna call a big Brook Lopez game tonight. Not a lot of presence inside for the Mavs. Lopez feasts on that. Typically, he doesn't get as many boards because he's boxing out the biggest guy on the other team, and all the other Bucks players get more rebounds. But I think he could go to work tonight and give them fits. So I'm looking forward to that. Luka's obviously almost impossible to stop at this point, but the Bucks definitely have the personnel to handle him as good as they can. So like you said, I feel pretty confident the Bucks will get the win tonight.
I would think so. The Mavs have flashes of they could do some things, and then they come up against a great team like this, they kind of fold just because they just don't have the depth. They just simply don't have the numbers, and that's what the Bucks specialize in. Is we have one of the best players in the league, and we have 2 full rotations of guys that can play ball. So, anything else that you wanna chat on before we get on out of here?
Just moving past Friday. Saturday's looking a little sad outside of Celtics Warriors. So first finals rematch we're seeing this season. Very excited to see how that goes. A little nervous for the Warriors. 2 teams with very different performances going on right now. So Celtics look primed to get the win there. And then Sunday we get another Suns Pelicans game. So we get a little series to evaluate on Monday between these 2 teams, which I think is going to be really interesting. Beyond that, Sunday games are looking a little weak as well. Lakers, Pistons, Kings, Knicks. Woof. Yeah. So, we're going to be focusing on the Suns Pels series on Monday.
Well, another series we can focus on is the Friday-Sunday matchup of the Raptors Magic. We can really break that down as well.
That is true. Yes. I will be ready with Bull highlights, stats, analysis.
Mandatory Bull viewing. Let's see what he can. Hey, I could see him. Golly, that steal and that dunk. Oh my gosh. It's hard for super tall, long guys to make dunking look cool. Like every time Kevin Durant does it, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, but
unless you dunk it from forever away, and that's what Bull did, and it was super impressive. All right. I do want to, before we do get out of here, I do just want to mention, we didn't get the chance to cover this, the absolute demolition of the Suns by the Celtics there, looking like kind of right now, no offense to your Bucks, like far and away the best team in the league. Yeah. They're on a record pace offensively. Their guys are gelling. And Jaylen Brown had 134 touches before a turnover. That was a 4 or 3 game stretch or something. Broke a Celtics record or something like that. You gotta give a shout out to the Celtics there.
Yeah, Suns emptied the bench midway through the third quarter. I have not seen that in a while. That was a terrible performance. So that's why I think maybe the Suns bounce back tonight. 3 games in a row looking weak. I'd be surprised.
Yeah, it could happen, and we will definitely see. All right, anything else for the people, my friend?
I like your Samurai Jack hoodie. I don't think I told you that earlier.
Oh, thank you. This is handmade.
Very nice.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Drop a like on the live. Hit the link in the description. Join our Chalkboard group chat. Check out the podcast Bob did to bomb this week, and it was very funny. It was very entertaining. We will be live Monday morning. You can look out for videos and shorts all throughout this weekend. And we love you. Don't forget, yay basketball.